Grab a cup of coffee and start your Sunday with Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life features stories to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Every Sunday morning at 9 on the Talk of New York, AM 970, The Apple. Visit cyacyl.com.
Good morning, this is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Every once in a while, a book comes along that has the ability to touch one's soul. A book that opens the mind and allows one to see things clearly. For me, that book is The Shack. The Shack came to me when I really needed it, and it helped me gain clarity in my life. I'm blessed to have the author of The Shack, Paul Young, as today's guest. Paul's book, The Shack, is an international bestseller with more than 17 million copies in print. It has spent 49 weeks at the #1 spot on the New York Times Bestseller list. What's even more incredible is the story behind the story. Once you hear it, you'll understand exactly why this book is so amazing. Good morning, Paul. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. It's great to be with you.
Paul, I had the honor of being present at one of your lectures the other evening, and, I had read the book, and it means so much to me on a personal level. And after hearing your story, I can't wait for you to share this with our listeners. It truly, to me, is just such an amazing story of inspiration. And at this point, would you tell us a little bit about your background? You did not have a traditional childhood. So, that's an understatement, right?
Yeah, you know what? But the way you grow up, you think is normal. And so for me, I was 10 months old. We were in the highlands of New Guinea. I was growing up with a Stone Age cannibal tribe called the Dani, who actually became my family, really. And but that's the reality that I grew up in, and it's on the other side of the world. It's in a culture that had never seen a white person before. I didn't really actually consciously realize that I was white till I went to boarding school when I was 6 years old, and that's when I found out I wasn't black. Mm-hmm. That was a huge disappointment. There's just lots of the ways that we grow up that as we begin to be exposed to a greater world, we begin to re-look and re-evaluate, rethink about, so this wasn't, quote, normal after all. No, so it was quite different. Missionary kid, preacher's kid.
So how did you go from a missionary preacher's kid to writing this book that has had such a life-changing effect on so many people?
Boy, that's way more than a 10-hour show right there, and because you're talking about because I'm 56 years old now, so it's not like the process of transformation was overnight. If you've read the book, Mackenzie spends a weekend in the shack, and that weekend represents at least 11 years of my life, and so there's a huge process of transformation. Moving back here to the West, I'm Canadian, so. Finishing up high school in Canada, having college in Canada, and then coming down to the U.S., meeting Kim, who we've now been married for 32 years, and we have 6 children, 18 to 31, and 5 grandbabies, and 1 on the way. And so, life continues to change. But in the middle of that, you're on your own journey, too, as far as who you are as a human being, how you think about God, how you think about grace and forgiveness, and all those subjects that are real, and about your own brokenness that's in your own heart. What do you do with that? And if you do anything, and a lot of us just try to protect that place, and we don't come to healing because we just keep hiding everything. So, those are all subjects that we could go into, but it's a process, and it takes time for all of us.
Paul, you were not a writer per se, and you didn't aspire to be an author. So how did this book come into being?
Yeah, I'm not an author per se. I've always written, so I guess that would make anybody that writes anything a writer. So poetry, songs, short stories for friends. And Kim had asked me for a few years if I would put in one place how I think as a gift for our kids. And in 2005, I finally felt I was healthy enough as a human being that I could actually do something like that. And that's where I started working on this story. And I love story because its ability to sneak past our watchful dragons of rationalism and intellectual defense and all of those things that tend to guard our inside world. And music does that, and art does that, and creation does that. And it was just an opportunity to put down on paper something in which I was trying to communicate to my children. This is who I now believe to be the character and nature of God. And this is the God that brought healing to me after so many years of believing in a God who required me to please him, performance-based, guilt-driven. And that's how the story came to be. Got it done for Christmas, made 15 copies at Office Depot, gave them to my kids and my friends, and Kim got a copy, and I went back to work. Never even crossed my mind one time, and it never has, to put anything that I've written into actual published form. So total surprise when anything has happened besides. The 15 copies did everything that I wanted it to do. So all the rest of this is God's sense of humor, a flash of grace and desperation.
Well, Paul, to give our listeners a sense of God's sense of humor, you self-published this book, and just quickly, can you let our listeners know exactly what happened to this book, which is something that is usually unheard of in the world of publishing?
It ended up in the hands, this little first manuscript ended up in the hands of some folks that thought it should be a movie. And that really started the first conversation about actually publishing it. And we understood that if you sold 100,000 copies of a novel, Hollywood would talk to you about a film. So that was sort of our benchmark. And we began working toward that end. And so got it ready. Unfortunately, the 26 publishers that we turned it down, the faith-based publishers thought it was too edgy, and the secular publishers thought it had too much Jesus, and so we got stuck in this no man's land, and nobody wanted to publish it. So two guys I know created a publishing company, signed whatever papers you have to with the government to create one, and it's not that expensive if you want one. And so I finally had a publisher who would publish my book, and we pooled our resources. I had a friend in Gresham, Oregon, who had loaned me some money, and one of the guys had savings, and the other one literally had a Visa and a MasterCard. And so we found a printer in Los Angeles. Out of naivete, we ordered 10,000 copies, which usually means 8,000 in your garage after 2 years. Mm-hmm. But we didn't know that the average book only sold 5,000 copies. And so our goal was in 5 years to get it to 100,000. Maybe we could sell a couple thousand of them in 2 years, or 10,000 of them in 2 years. And so we had them all shipped to one of the guy's houses. I put them in his garage. We set up a website, and people began coming to the website and buying these books. They'd buy one, and then 5, and then 10, and the amazing thing is we were not in anybody's system. That is, we weren't in anybody's marketing program, anybody's promotional system. We just were on a website. And in the first 13 months, out of that website and the local printer, a couple storage units, we spent less than $300 in marketing and advertising and shipped over 1 million books, which is miraculous. And I didn't. I'm working in Oregon and working 3 jobs at the time, so I'm kind of out of the loop. And plus, I don't know anything about publishing, so I didn't realize how phenomenally unusual this was. It was all word of mouth. People coming and buying 5, 10 cases, giving them to their friends coming and buying them, and pretty soon we were attracting all kinds of attention that we were surprised by. And that really started the ball rolling. Hachette, who's the second largest publisher in the world, came on board with the 2 guys that own the publishing company in June of 2008, and they opened up the international markets. Now it's in 41 languages, and this is unbelievable, miraculous way that God has given a language to so many people to have a conversation about God that's not religious but relational.
God's sense of humor.
God's sense of humor, absolutely. Where do we think humor and laughter and jokes came from? It's not part of the fall, so.
Paul, we're going to take a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you unhappy with your body after going through multiple pregnancies? You've done so much for your children, and now may be the time to do something for yourself. This is Dr. Brian Glatt, and I'm a board-certified plastic surgeon at the Premier Plastic Surgery Center of New Jersey, located in Morristown. There are so many surgical options available to help improve the contour of the breast, tummy, thigh regions, many of which can be combined at the same time. Performing multiple procedures at once is typically referred to as a mommy makeover, and has the advantage of reducing cost as well as reducing overall recovery time. The mommy makeover is ideally suited to revitalize the abdomen and breast area all at once within a safe time frame from a surgical standpoint. The most common procedure performed as part of a mommy makeover is a tummy tuck or an abdominoplasty with liposuction, frequently performed at the same time for additional contouring and sculpting. Breast implant surgery may be desired at the same time to increase the size of the breasts and provide volume. If the breast tissue is deflated or the skin stretched out and loose, then a breast lift may be needed also. Combining a tummy tuck, liposuction, breast lift, or implants remains the essence of a mommy makeover and can result in a dramatic change in the breast and abdominal region. For more details or to discuss which options may be right for you, contact my office at 973-889-9300 for a full consultation, or visit my website at www.drbrianglatt.com. Now may be the time to do something for yourself and restore your body to that pre-pregnancy appearance or even better. This is Dr. Brian Glatt, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Change your attitude, change your life, and big, believe, inspire, grow. Salute the entrepreneurial spirit of small business owners, people who follow a dream, work hard, and make it happen. This week's Spotlight on the Aquarian Sun is brought to you by REA, a global consulting firm that provides career and transition services to individuals and relocating families worldwide. The Aquarian Sun is a healing and learning center where you can learn how to care for yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's a place to promote personal growth and discover your life's purpose. At the Aquarian Sun, ancient healing modalities such as Reiki, energy work, and acupressure are combined with modern modalities such as spiritual counseling, hypnotherapy, massage, and muscle release therapy to help you begin your healing process. The Aquarian Sun is a place of peace and knowledge where you can release stress, control pain, purge anxiety, and gain control of your life without relying solely on prescribed medicine or over-the-counter drugs. The Aquarian Sun offers a variety of classes and workshops. For more information, call 973-686-9100 or visit www.aquariansun.net. You're not alone in your struggle. Let Aquarian Sun help.
6 months ago, I was transferred to Seattle, Washington. My family and I made the move. My wife, Kay, initially focused on getting our new home built, enrolling our children in school, and maintaining our temporary housing. Throughout the process, an REA consultant stayed in close contact with Kay until she was ready to start her job search. After Kay enrolled, her REA consultant called her about an opportunity that was a perfect fit. The consultant helped Kay update her resume, provided salary information and market comparisons, and coached her on interview strategies. Within 2 weeks, Kay was offered the position, and the REA consultant coached her through the salary negotiation process. Kay accepted the job. Thank you, REA, for making our move and transition easy. If you need career relocation assistance, career transition outplacement services, or executive coaching, contact the experienced professionals at REA. For more information, please visit r-e-a.com.
Health insurance costs have risen at an alarming rate. At the same time, coverage choices have narrowed. Supplemental insurance provides an employer with the opportunity to enhance its current health plan without adding cost or administration. From accidents to catastrophic illness to intensive care to unexpected death, VMN Benefits has the plan to meet your needs. Call VMN Benefits at 201-697-0203 to learn more about supplemental insurance. VMN Benefits, providing peace of mind for your employees.
Some people prefer traditional funeral services. Others prefer cremation. Some want an elaborate ceremony. Others don't want any ceremony at all. Visit Funeral Homes offer all types of services because we know there are all types of people. That's why we specialize in personalized funeral services. To meet the needs of each and every family, call Bishop Quinlan Funeral Homes of Clifton at 973-546-2000 and visit Parker Funeral Home of Little Falls at 973-256-4700 for ideas and information on how to plan a service as individual as you are.
Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life now has a free monthly digital magazine that can be read online or emailed to your inbox. Each month, nationally recognized leaders in their field provide the information that you need to inspire and motivate you. We believe in a holistic approach to life, incorporating mind, body, and spirit. As philosopher Francis Bacon said, knowledge is power. Use the wisdom provided in the publication and apply it to your everyday life. Visit cyacyl.com for more information or to begin your free subscription. That's cyacyl.com. Welcome back to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman, and our guest today is Paul Young, author of the international bestseller, The Shack. Paul, before break, we were talking about your journey and how the book, The Shack, came into being. What does the shack represent to you? What is the shack a metaphor for?
The shack is a metaphor for the heart and the soul of a human being. It's what I like to call the house on the inside that people help you build. And, we all have a soul. We all have a heart. And a lot of us did not get good help building it. So our foundations are not straight, and the floorboards are rotting, and there's sewage leaking in the basement, and it becomes a house on the inside of shame and pain, and that's where we store all of our addictions, and we hide all of our secrets, and so it becomes a place that we don't want anybody in because we are so disgusted with it, so full of shame, and we don't want God to come really in there, and so we. Religion says, you've been healed. Everything's good now that you've asked Jesus into your heart. And so we then become performers. We build a little facade outside that we can paint as fast as we can pick up people's expectations. And that's becomes the way that we operate because we're so ashamed. And for those of us especially who've got abuse in their histories, who've had very difficult relationships with their father or mother, or they didn't have father or mother, there's just so many tragedies, sickness, so many things can damage the heart and the soul of a child and of a human being. And instead of healing, we're so terrified to really open ourselves up to relationship, which would actually bring healing to us, that we would rather perform to try to win people's expectations. So that's in a nutshell the picture of what the shack is. And Mackenzie had to go back into the shack. He had to find that God was in there, that God wasn't in love with the performance, no matter how good it was. But who God loved was Mackenzie, the shack itself, the soul.
Paul, why a murder of a child? What is the symbolic meaning of that?
The murder of a child represents the greatest loss a human being can experience, the loss between a parent and a child. And even now, modern medicine and psychology, psychiatry, they are in agreement. There is no greater grief than the loss between a parent and a child. And I think it's because it most closely matches the way we're created in the image of God. That the deepest place in the heart of God, the character of God, is an other-centered love between persons. And that's why the Trinity is so important to me. So before there's time, space, and matter, there is a relationship in which three persons are full of other-centered love, not selfless love, but other-centered love, where the self really becomes significant and remains individual and alive and real. And the closest we come as human beings is the way we love our children, to that other-centered love. A healthy parent cannot explain why it is they would just immediately give their life up for their child, but they would, or trade places if their child is hurt. And with that depth comes the greatest possibility of pain and loss. So that loss represents the greatest pain, and the greatest pain asks the best questions. If God cannot show up in this kind of loss, then we're just playing some kind of religious game. And so that's why that scenario, because people have asked me all the time, you wrote this scenario for your kids? And I'm going, yeah. I mean, I did think about other kinds, whether it was sickness or something else, but nothing matched the depth of questions that this elicited.
Paul, you mentioned the Trinity, and for me, I'm a Catholic, and the concept of the Trinity is one of the most difficult concepts to wrap your arms around. But how did you come up with the characters of the Trinity, their representation? What inspired you, the names and so forth?
Well, Jesus was easy. He's always been the easy member of the Trinity because becoming human and being fully human and having the name Jesus, lots more easily identifiable. God the Father, a little bit more difficult. The Holy Spirit was even more enigmatic. But I really love the reality of this relationship that exists between Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so when I was trying to put it into the storyline, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I want to present God the Father? And I wanted to get away from Gandalf with an attitude as far as possible, because that sort of represents the way I grew up. God it's Plato and Aristotle's indivisible being, distant, immovable, unreachable, untouchable, unknowable, unemotional, unreally involved, God watching from the infinite distance of a disapproving heart. And, the old gray man with the beard who's kind of disgusted that he has to put up with us at all, but, his boy loves you, so what can he do? And so having God emerge and mix the metaphors, a large black African-American woman named Papa was really worked for me to try to push the reality that God is not male or female. And Papa's very clear about that. And Mackenzie's got such damage in his relationship with the men who have been in his life that's a huge block. And so God doesn't wait for Mackenzie to kind of figure it out and get healthy enough so that he can relate to God. God comes to find Mackenzie in a way that Mackenzie can embrace, and that's Papa. The Holy Spirit, for a lot of people, has been sort of not even person, but mist or ghost or force or something impersonal, and I don't believe that. I believe the Holy Spirit is fully person and fully equal and involved inside the relationship of Father-Son. And so, I grew up in Asia, and I've grown up with a lot of Asian women, and so the Asian women have a tendency to stay in the background, which kind of like the Holy Spirit, not promote themselves, but they always show up where you don't expect them, and they know everything. And so the Asian persona fit really well for me. And then the name, Sarayu, was off of a conversation on Skype when I was working for a web conferencing company with a woman named Geetika Prabhu in India. And I was looking for a name for the Holy Spirit the day that she was looking for a web conferencing solution, and we ended up on Skype, the only time I ever was on Skype when working for that company. And I asked her for a list of words for the wind, and she gave me Sarayu as one of them. And when I asked her what it meant, she said, because wind it's a type of wind, and that's what I asked her for, and wind is a metaphor for the Holy Spirit. And she said, Sarayu is the common wind that catches you by surprise. And when I said, are you kidding? She said, really? She says, yeah, it's like when you're so hot you think you're going to die, and suddenly out of nowhere comes this wind that cools you down and changes everything. And that gave me a name. So Papa, from the first day I started writing the storyline, Papa was there, and the Holy Spirit was there, but it took me a while to get her name. Jesus, of course, was there.
And that was the only time you were ever on Skype?
With that company, yeah. One day.
No coincidences, right, Paul?
See. To me, coincidence has a name, and we're surrounded by them. I think there is a God who is good all the time, who works purpose out with what we bring to the table and is involved in the details of our lives. A God who never becomes an abuser, who never takes control, who waits to participate. And God won't even heal us apart from our participation. And that's the kind of respect that God gives to the human creation, the kind of love and grace. And we just want God to come in here and clean everything up, the mess that we bring to the table. But God has to find a way to purpose that process without damaging other people or wresting from them their own ability to choose. And participation becomes real central as a central piece of relationship.
The book is The Shack by Paul Young. If you'd like more information about Paul and his work, you can visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on our site, listen to past shows as podcasts, read our digital magazine, and sign up for our mailing list. And I'd like to invite everyone to tune in to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life on Christmas morning when Paul returns to share some heartwarming stories associated with the book The Shack. These stories, to me, clearly represent the hand of God at work. So please tune in at 9 a.m. on Christmas morning. Paul, in 30 seconds or less, what is your message to the world?
Oh, wow.
In 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds. The message is this: there is a God who is good all the time, who's involved in the details of our lives, who is never the author of the damage, never the author of the destruction, but has promised to show up in the middle of it, inside relationship, and climb in our shacks after including us in their affection and begin to heal us from the inside.
Paul, thank you so much for your book. Thank you for your gift to the world. I recommend that everyone who has not gotten a copy of the book, The Shack, to go out immediately, get it, read it, and buy copies to give to your friends. This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.